Happy Sunday, Tiffany. Happy Sunday. Hey, girl, hey. Getting this rocking and rolling. Yes. Come back here. Alright, so I'm just pulling this up. I'm adding some extra words to my title. Okay. Next. Yes. Yes. Allow. Public. Yes. Trina, hey girl, hey. That's Wabu. Blessings, Lavon. Boom. There we go. Go live. All right. Okay, y'all. Soon enough, I'm gonna change my background. And I'm gonna set up a little bit more. No, I don't know how much more professional it's gonna be. But it's gonna be I'm gonna just change my background. But it'll still be I say a few months. Let's just say a few months. I'm gonna change my background. And then when I change my background, I'll actually be able to set up my cameras and my video equipment, my streaming equipment that I have, so I won't have to use my phone. I got stuff that I bought months ago. I just got a box that I put it all in because I just didn't feel like setting up. I ain't played with it yet. But anyway, Mom, shalom. Guess what I did, y'all? Broke down and did it yesterday. Went ahead and upgraded my laptop so we'll never have another issue with my screen going out, just automatically cutting off. I went ahead and did it. I was like, let me just go ahead and do this. I know I mentioned yesterday I was going to do it after we got back from our vacation that we're about to leave on here in a couple days. But I thought about it, being away and in the hotels, doing it with my laptop, and I was like, you know what, I don't know that I want to deal with that hassle on vacation. Let me just go ahead and do it now. So I did, went ahead and upgraded, got a new laptop, so the videos for YouTube should not ever have a break in them again. I shouldn't have crazy stuff happening to it, right? Okay, my kids ain't played with it. They ain't gonna play with this. This one completely set aside for me and the stuff I need to get done, and so I don't have to worry about viruses or nothing. And believe it or not, they say MacBooks can't get viruses, but my children sure figured out how to do that with downloading games and stuff. So, but anyway, Dream Sky Lover, good morning. All right, beautiful people. It is Sunday. Happy Sunday, everybody. It is October the 10th, 2021, day 275 of year 3 of reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 944. Today, y'all, we're reading Job 25, 26, and 27. Believe it or not, we'll probably be finished with the reading in Job in like 5 to 7 minutes, because I think Job chapter 5 is like 5 verses. I went through it this morning. It's real short. And then we're going to pick up in Caesar's Messiah, starting chapter 12 on page 301. Is it 301? We're probably starting at 302. Hold on. On page, 303. 302 is a blank page. And it's called, what is this? I think it's the Father and the Son. This chapter, the Father and the Son of God. So this chapter's going to be pretty interesting. Okay, y'all, so let's get started here. Trina, I got a MacBook Pro. I got the most up-to-date one. The one I had was the one I bought years ago. Now, I tell you this about MacBooks. They last. I love my MacBook. I bought it in, look, I feel ashamed to say, not really. I don't really feel ashamed to say this. I bought it in 2012. That's how good it is. It's what, 2021 now. They are really good. I really like it for business. I just, HP is really good for some stuff, but MacBooks, they are awesome. They really are. So that's the kind of guy. Christy, hey girl, hey. All right, y'all. All right, so the Shema is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6, starting at verse 3. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the mighty one of our fathers, has promised us in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our mighty one, he is one. And you shall love Yahuwah, your mighty one, with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah, our mighty one, for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah, our mighty one, as he has commanded us. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and hop right in here. Job 25. Bildad's third response to Job is 6 verses. I'm sorry, I said 5, but it's 6. Then Bildad the Shuhite replied, Yahuwah is powerful and dreadful. He enforces peace in the heavens. Who is able to count his heavenly army? Doesn't his light shine on all the earth? How can a mortal be innocent before Yahuwah? Can anyone born of a woman be pure? Yahuwah is more glorious than the moon. He shines brighter than the stars. In comparison, people are maggots. We mortals are mere worms. Job chapter 26. Job's ninth speech, a response to Bildad. Then Job spoke again. How you have helped the powerless, how you save the weak, how you have enlightened my stupidity. What wise advice you have offered. Where have you gotten all these wise sayings? Whose spirit speaks through you? The dead tremble, those who live beneath the waters. The underworld is naked in Yahuwah's presence. The place of destruction is uncovered. Yahuwah stretches in the northern sky over empty space and hangs the earth on nothing. He wraps the rain in his thick clouds, and the clouds don't burst with weight. He covers the face of the moon, shrouding it with his clouds. He created the horizon when he separated the waters. He set the boundary between day and night. The foundations of the heaven trembled. I put an extra word in there. The foundations of heaven tremble. They shudder at his rebuke. By his power, the sea grew calm. By his skill, he crushed the great sea monster. His spirit made the heavens beautiful, and his power pierced the gliding serpent. These are just the beginning of all that he does, merely a whisper of his power. Who then can comprehend the thunder of his power? Last chapter for the day, y'all. Job chapter 27. Job's final speech. Job continued speaking. I vow by the living God, who has taken away my rights, by the Almighty, who has embittered my soul. As long as I live, while I have breath from Yahuwah, my lips will speak no evil, and my tongue will speak no lies. I will never concede that you are right. I will defend my integrity until I die. I will maintain my innocence without wavering. My conscience is clear for as long as I live. May my enemy be punished like the wicked, my adversary like those who do evil. For what hope do the godless have when Yahuwah cuts them off and take away their life? Will Yahuwah listen to their cry? When trouble comes upon them, can they take delight in the Almighty? Can they call to Yahuwah at any time? I will teach you about Yahuwah's power. I will not conceal anything concerning the Almighty. But you have seen all this, yet you say all these useless things to me. This is what the wicked will receive from Yahuwah. This is their inheritance from the Almighty. They may have many children, but the children will die in war or starve to death. Those who survive will die of a plague, and not even their widows will mourn them. Evil people may have piles of money and may store away mounds of clothing, but the righteous will wear that clothing, and the innocent will divide that money. The wicked build houses as fragile as a spider's web, as flimsy as a shelter made of branches. The wicked go to bed rich, but wake to find that all their wealth is gone. Terror overwhelms them like a flood, and they are blown away in the storms of the night. The east wind carries them away, and they are gone. It sweeps them away. It whirls down on them without mercy. They struggle to flee from its power, but everyone jeers at them and mocks them. And that, my beautiful people, is our reading for today. Hey, girl, hey, you got my cube. You trying to solve it? Okay, y'all, so let's pull this up. What, Tootie? Oh, you got some left. Okay.
Still hard.
Still hard? Okay, you going back upstairs to watch cartoons? I'll call you when I'm about to end it so you can end it, okay? Okay, I won't forget. I promise. All right, y'all. Chapter 12. Let me go ahead and put some more Carmex on my lips. Hold on. It's going to stay down there too till I'm done. Marie. Shalom, shalom. Okay, y'all, what we reading? Caesar's Messiah, Alicia Ya. Girl, we always be reading. Y'all, we literally almost done. I'm really at a loss right now about what we're going to read. We really going to be done with this. I want to say it next week. I've been like, all right, Father, what we going to read next? I don't know, y'all. I don't really know at this point. So, all right. Yeah, so we're on chapter 12. So, yesterday we finished up chapter 11. Who was this? Was this Mundus? Yeah. We finished up chapter 11, and it was, you remember, we learned about the puzzle of Decius Mundus. We learned about the different parallels they had in the Wars of the Jews, a couple of other scripts that they had written, and how it also relates to the New Testament and how they were written simultaneously together because they were meant to be read intertextually, but Christendom never teaches you that, right? Half of them don't know. Some know, but if they go in and try and correct stuff, start messing with the church's money, and they ain't having it. Okay, chapter 12. The Father and the Son is the title. All things have been handed over to me by my Father, and no one fully knows the Son except the Father, nor does anyone fully know the Father except the Son, and all to whom the Son chooses to reveal him. End quote. And that's found in Matthew 11, verse 27. Jesus' doomsday prophecies were directed against the wicked generation of Jews who rebelled against Rome. So remember, the wicked generation are the Sakari, or the Hebrews, and not wicked in a way that we would think, oh my gosh, somebody need to remove them from power. No, they called them the wicked generation because they rebelled against Rome. The Hebrews were not having it, but Rome, when they figured out that they was going to constantly be at war with the Hebrews because there was no way that they were going to submit to their rulership, and they wanted them to worship them or their Caesar as God and call him God, to say we ain't having it. There's only one God. We ain't doing that crap. Although they was full of their own foolishness, right? But you ain't gonna make us come worship another God. We know there's only one God. Yeah, we got some foolishness going on, but we ain't worshiping a man, right? Okay. So that every time you see wicked generation, that's who they're referring to. They're actually referring to Yahuwah's people, those who worship him alone, right? Okay. Every time we come across it, I just want to reiterate that. This, and that was explained in the early chapters with the references and everything. Okay. I'll start this paragraph over. Jesus' doomsday prophecies were directed against the wicked generation of Jews who rebelled against Rome. Therefore, his threatened second coming was predicting the 70 CE destruction of Jerusalem. This was the understanding of most Christian theologians until this century. And it's still the way the preterist Christians understand these prophecies. The 17th century theologian Reland saw the Roman assault on Jerusalem in this way, quote, "The Son of God came now to take vengeance on the sins of the Jewish nation," end quote. His contemporary, William Whiston, was even more specific. He understood that Jesus' words indicated that he will come at the head of the Roman army for their destruction. And that's reference 162. And that's something else I meant to mention when I was describing the wicked generation. So the wicked generation was those who wouldn't worship Rome, but also when Rome realized that they were going to be constantly at war with them, they was like, we're tired of fighting them, folks. They are not giving up. Matter of fact, they don't even fear death. Even their children. Y'all see their children? Their children don't turn against them. Their children willingly die. They said, we don't want this. No, this is too tiring. So if we can't beat them, let's join them. And they joined them in a way and they realized that they couldn't force them to do anything through physical force and to worship their Caesars. So they realized, they said, the only way we're going to get to this people is by their laws. They are completely devoted to their God. So we have to infiltrate their laws, which is why they went on this rampage, destroying y'all. Christianity talking about people destroying Bibles and stuff. The Christian Bibles, hogwash. They destroyed Yahuwah's Torah to further intercept their ranks, to infiltrate their ranks, right? And so every time they got their hands on a Torah, or they had somebody from the Jews or the Hebrews that defected, because there were some, not all of them, but there were some who feared death, and they defected to the Roman army, and they became the plants inside of the ranks of Yahuwah's people, right? So every time they got their hands on the Torah, they burnt the Torah. We hear about it. Oh, Yahuwah, your Torah is burnt. They burned it. They took it. They kept it. They rewrote it. They added stuff, and then they gave it back, right? And they wrote it, and they infiltrated it so much that, in so much as when they would read it, or when we would read it, it will soften us against Rome, which is what eventually we see it now. It keeps them fighting against Rome. It keeps us from fighting against Rome, right? They turn the fire that we carried on the inside of us, and they put it out with water. Now you just you love everybody. You just go kiss them. They did you wrong. Don't worry about that. They'll get they just do in the sweet by and by. But you love on them. You forgive them and go on about it. It don't matter they burnt your house. It don't matter that they broke in and did whatsoever to your daughter and your sons and your wife, even to you, man. Don't know. Just forgive them. Give them the other cheek. They slapped you one. Go ahead and give them the other one too. He ain't got no coat. Well, take yours off your back and give it to him. Like, what kind of foolery is this, right? And that's exactly what they did. And they pacified us so we don't rise up in righteous indignation against the tyranny that's being lorded over Yahuwah's people. All right, I digress. Listen. His contemporary, William Whiston, was even more specific. He understood that Jesus' words indicated that he would come at the head of the Roman army for their destruction. End quote. Reference 162. I am in complete agreement with Reeland and Winston. All of Jesus' ministry was about the coming war with Rome and was designed to establish Jesus as Titus's forerunner. Therefore, the relationship between Jesus and the Father referred to throughout the Gospels is a forerunner of the relationship between Titus and his father, the emperor, and God Vespasian. Right? You should have been here for the earlier chapters where it broke all that down. All the dialogues that describe Jesus' relationship with the Father use comic wordplay that actually describes Titus's relationship with his real father, Vespasian. Supporting this premise is the fact that all of Jesus' descriptions of his relationship with his father mention that father and son possess secret identities known only to the two of them. Quote, but the testimony which I have is greater than that of John, for the works which the Father has granted me to accomplish, these very works which I am doing, bear me witness that the Father has sent me. End quote. And it's John 5, verse 36. So remember, when you start looking at this the right way, you'll realize that although it says that Jesus is the King of the Jews, no, when they created him, he was really put there as a plant to infiltrate the ranks, right? He was a pro-Roman Messiah, right? Nothing really about the Hebrews. No. JC was doing the work of Rome. I read this quote again. Quote, but the testimony which I have is greater than that of John, for the works which the Father has granted me to accomplish, these very works which I am doing, bear me witness that the Father has sent me. End quote. John chapter 5, verse 36. Quote, I bear witness to myself, and the Father who sent me bears witness to me. They said to him, therefore, where is your Father? Jesus answered, you know neither me nor my Father. If you knew me, you would know my Father also. Now that's hilarious when we realize what we're reading. End quote. John chapter 8, verses 18 through 19. In Matthew, Jesus also speaks of a secret identity known only to him and his Father. Quote, at that time, Jesus answered and said, I thank thee, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because thou hast hid these things from the wise and the prudent, and hast revealed them unto babes. Even so, Father, for so it seemed good in thy sight. All things are delivered unto me of my Father, and no man knoweth the Son but the Father, neither knoweth any man the Father, save the Son, and he to whomsoever the Son will reveal him. End quote. And that's Matthew 11, verse 25 through 27. In the Gospel of John, Jesus again discusses his relationship with the Father. Again, the discussion takes place within the context of a concealed identity. Boker told Mariah. In this instance, his questioners are trying to determine whether Jesus is claiming to be the Messiah. Christian theologians have made numerous efforts to explain Jesus' meaning here. My explanation is that it is a revelation that Jesus was a God, lowercase, and not God, uppercase. Quote, my Father, who has given them to me, is greater than all, and no one is able to snatch them out of the Father's hand. I and the Father are one. The Jews took up stones again to stone him. Jesus answered them, I have shown you many good works from the Father. For which of these do you stone me? The Jews answered him, it is not for a good work that we stone you, but for blasphemy, because you, being a man, make yourself God. Jesus answered them, is it not written in your law, I said, you are gods? If he called them gods to whom the word of God came, and scripture cannot be broken, do you say of him whom the Father consecrated and sent into the world, you are blaspheming because I said I am the Son of God? If I am not doing the works of my Father, then do not believe me. But if I do them, even though you do not believe me, believe the works, that you may know and understand that the Father is in me and I am in the Father. End quote. John chapter 10, verses 29 through 38. If Jesus' dialogue is, as I suggest, a satiric way of describing Titus and his father, the god Vespasian, then the passage above makes perfect sense. It is of interest that Titus is the only person other than Jesus who is referred to in the New Testament with the phrase coming of. Quote, but he who comforts the depressed, even God comfort us by the coming of Titus and not by his coming only. End quote. And that's reference 163. A Titus is also described in the Pauline letters as the true child. Quote, to Titus, my own true to Titus, my own true child in our common faith. End quote. That's Titus chapter 1, verse 4. When Vespasian died in 79 CE, Titus succeeded him as emperor. Among his first orders of business was to have his father deified. It was not a routine task, as Vespasian was to be the first non-Julio-Claudian emperor to be so honored. But it was important because Vespasian's deification would break the chain of divine succession held by the Julio-Claudian line since Julius Caesar. Let me read that again. But it was important because Vespasian's deification would break the chain of divine succession held by the Julio-Claudian line since Julius Caesar, and thereby help him secure an imperial future for the Flavian family. In order for Vespasian to be made a deist, the Roman Senate had to decree it upon him. It was a uniquely Roman custom that only the Senate could bestow the title of deist upon him. Over the years, the Senate had turned down many applicants for the title. Therefore, Titus needed to somehow demonstrate to the Senate that Vespasian's life had been that of a god. During this time, he would also have been involved in creating of an empire-wide bureaucracy to administer the cult of Vespasian once it was established. In spite of the fact that Vespasian's consecrato would have been of great importance to Titus, it did not occur until 6 months after his death. This interval between the death of an emperor and his consecrato was an unusually long time. I believe that it was during this time that the New Testament was created. The length of the interval was due to the fact that during this period, Titus created not one, but two religions that worshiped his father as a god, as well as the New Testament's companion piece, Wars of the Jews. As Jesus' prophecies came to pass during the Jewish war, they proved that God had sanctioned the events he foresaw. This is exactly what Titus would have been attempting to demonstrate to the Roman Senate, that the events of his father's life, certainly including his conquest of Judea, proved that he was divine and that he deserved to be decreed a deist. Viewed from this perspective, the similarities between Christianity and the cult of Vespasian are obvious. Boy, I tell you, the Flavians, Titus, they had the best family management company ever. You talk about planning ahead. Bruh, yo, this is... Okay. Viewed from this perspective, the similarities between Christianity and the cult of Vespasian are obvious. When Titus arranged to have his father declared a god, When Titus arranged to have his father declared a god, he deified the events of Vespasian's life. Thus, all of Jesus' prophecies regarding God's coming wrath upon Judea flow without contradiction into the cult of Vespasian. In fact, the Gospels could have been presented to the Roman Senate as proof of the absurd premise that Vespasian's life had been that of a god. To see this more clearly, simply subtract Judaism and Judea from the New Testament. What if Titus, in trying to convince the Roman Senate that certain events of his father's life proved that he was divine, had claimed that a prophet had wandered about Italy in 30 CE, predicting that two Roman gods, a father and a son, would one day destroy a wicked generation of Jews who rebelled against Rome, and along with them, the Temple of Jerusalem. Every member of the Senate would have understood that the gods this Italian prophet had foreseen were Vespasian and Titus. Of course, no Roman senator would have been so gullible as to believe the story. Locating the prophet in Judea does not make such prophecies any more plausible, but Christianity was not created for a hold on. Let me go back. I'm getting tongue-tied. Locating the prophet in Judea does not make such prophecies any more plausible, but Christianity was not created for a sophisticated audience. The histories of Josephus, which prophesied that Vespasian would be the world ruler, foreseen by Judaism's messianic prophecies, likewise provided support for Vespasian's deification. The New Testament and Wars of the Jews both make the case that the destruction of Judea was an act of God. The same absurd premise as that made by the cult of Vespasian. When we align the New Testament with Wars of the Jews, a clear picture emerges. Jesus predicted that a Son of Man would encircle Jerusalem with a wall and destroy its temple and bring tribulation onto the wicked generation that rebelled against Rome. In fact, one man had actually these precise characteristics: a man who was a son of God and whose followers fished for men at Gennesareth, a man who encircled Jerusalem with a wall and destroyed the temple of Jerusalem, a man who brought the tribulation that Jesus had foreseen unto the wicked generation, and then ended his ministry by condemning Simon and sparing John. This man was Titus Flavius. Only one man at that point in history had the power to establish a religion. At the same time that the first real evidence of Christianity emerges, one man is known to have established a religion At the same time that the first real evidence of Christianity emerges, one man is known to have established a religion that, like Christianity, held that the destruction of Jerusalem and its temple was the work of a god. The man was Titus Flavius. Bear in mind that no one had a stronger motivation than Titus for finding a cost-effective method of containing militant Judaism, which was so expensive for Rome to control. Finally, only one family other than Jesus's is associated with the origin of Christianity. It is the family of Titus Flavius. Even if one discounts the tradition that regards Flavius Clemens as the first pope, as well as all the other Flavian traditions connected with Christianity's origins, the inscription naming Flavia Domitilla as the founder of the oldest burial grounds for Christians in Rome still exists today. If one ignores even this, the works of Flavius Josephus would be sufficient to confirm the Flavian connection with the origins of Christianity. Josephus's works deliberately falsified history.
How did your video get up here?
I put it up here.
Yeah.
Yep. Josephus's works deliberately falsified history to provide support for Christian dogma, and whoever or whatever he was, Josephus was an adopted Flavian. Concerning the question of who knew Judaism well enough to create Christianity, this information was in abundant supply, even within the small circle of Titus's known confidence. Titus's mistress Bernice, though a Herodian, had Maccabean ancestors and claimed to have been a Jew. Though the Jews of the Messianic movement would not have seen her religious perspective as Jewish, she would clearly have known much about the Judaism of her day and would have been able to contribute to the creation of the Gospels. Tiberius Alexander was another individual within Titus's innermost circle who knew of Judaism well enough to oversee the production of the New Testament. Tiberius was the nephew of the famous Jewish philosopher Philo, and Vespasian held him in such regard that he made Tiberius chief of staff to Titus during the siege of Jerusalem. Though a Jew, Tiberius Alexander was a Roman knight who was morally able to order the murder of thousands of his race to maintain the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. When the Jews of Alexandria made a disturbance, Tiberius ordered the Roman troops not only to kill the rioters, but to plunder and burn their ghetto as well. Josephus records that 50,000 corpses piled up. Tiberius, in his role as chief of staff to Titus during the siege of Jerusalem and the subsequent slaughter and enslavement of the Jews there, showed a slavish obedience to Rome. It would have been necessary for someone of Jewish descent who created a religion that was used to oppress his own people. His religious perspective was to Romanize to such an extent that he was not even monotheistic. He often used the word gods. Josephus, who, it should be remembered, also claimed to be a Jew, recorded Tiberius's close relationship with the Flavians. Quote, as also there came Tiberius Alexander, who was a friend of his, most valuable, both for his good will to him and for his prudence. He had formerly been governor of Alexandria, but was now thought worthy to be general of the army under Titus. The reason of this was that he had been the first who encouraged Vespasian very lately to accept this, his new dominion, and join himself to him with great fidelity when things were uncertain and fortune had not yet declared for him. He also followed Titus as a counselor, very useful to him in this war, both by his age and skill in such affairs. End quote. That's reference 165. Jerry, shalom. Josiah, shalom. Okay. To such individuals who were completely enthralled to the Flavians and saw militant Messianic Judaism as a threat to their financial interests, providing the information to construct a version of Judaism that was in alignment with Rome would have been automatic. One of the primary causes for the war between the Romans and the Jews was the Jews' refusal to worship the Roman emperors as gods. Though the rest of the emperor did, the Jews would not call Caesar Lord. As I have pointed out, the cruelest deception of Christianity is that by replacing the Jewish God and Son of God with Roman emperors, it tricked Jews into calling Caesar Lord without knowing it. Christianity stole the identities of the God of Judaism and his Messiah's son, which is Israel, as well as those of John and Simon, the leaders of the Messianic rebellion. Their identities were given to Vespasian and Titus to the Christian apostles, John and Simon. These disguised characters were combined with other symbols of Roman conquest, the cross of the crucifixion, and the flesh of the Messiah to create a religion that both absorbed and ridiculed the Messianic movement. This was the ultimate triumph of the imperial family. This dark comedic concept of switched identities is in play to such an extent that the New Testament and the works of Josephus together are a puzzle whose solution produces the true identities of their characters. Why was it necessary to create this vast literary puzzle? Because it was the only method by which Titus could both create a religion that solved the problem of the Jews' refusal to accept the Roman emperor as a god, and also make it known to posterity that he was the one who did it. Quote, but what was most of all astonishing to the beholders was the courage of the children, for not one of these children was so far overcome by these torments as to name Caesar their Lord. So far does the strength of the courage of the soul prevail over the weakness of the body. End quote. And that's reference 166. The authors of Christianity intended that their puzzles would be eventually solved, and Titus' complete triumph be thereby revealed, a sorry task that has fallen to this author. I suspect that Christianity, as the parodic version of the imperial cult, was first inserted into the areas surrounding Judea to serve as a theological barrier to the spread of militaristic Judaism. The religion flourished, and in the 4th century, Flavius Constantine saw a larger potential for it and decreed it the state religion. The religion thus became a prophylactic for all the potentially rebellious slave populations throughout the empire, to make the cult as efficient as possible in promoting their interests. Its inventors had their satiric messiah advocate to make the cult as efficient as possible in promoting their interests. Its inventors had their satiric messiah advocate both pacifism and stoicism, whereby Christians would learn to subdue their rebelliousness and find holiness in subservience. This combination of Christian theology and Roman imperial might was so effective that it kept European civilization frozen in place for over 1,000 years throughout the Dark Ages. A Roman bureaucracy called the Commune Asse, an organization that administered the imperial cult in Asia, would probably have overseen the original implementation of Christianity. Notably, all the 7 churches of Asia mentioned in Revelation 1. Notably, all the 7 churches of Asia mentioned in Revelation chapter 1 verse 11 were known to have agencies of the commune located within them. 5 of these 7 cities were sites of the imperial cult's festival, which was held once every 5 years. In these cities, it would have been possible to oversee 2 versions of the imperial cult, one for Roman citizens and the other for the slaves and scum, seen as susceptible to the lure of the Messiah. The puzzle of Decius Mundus, described earlier, indicates that wicked priests accepted money to build congregations for the new Judaism. Following the destruction of the temple, some of the 18,000 priests who had previously worked there were presumably still alive and would have needed to seek new employment. The first Christian priests may have been hired from the remnants of the enormous group that had once ministered to the now destroyed temple. However, these facts may be, the Roman version of Judaism was introduced to the masses by some group of wicked priests who had been employed by the Flavians to preach the Gospels, a word that technically means good news of military victory. The first people to hear the story of Jesus would most likely have been slaves whose patrons simply ordered them to attend services. After a while, some began to believe, then many. That was a good chapter, right? All right, so that is all of chapter 12, which was pretty short, right? Okay, so let me make this note right here. Where we at? We're in 43 minutes. It's Sunday. We gotta go to Daniel. Look, this next chapter, we gotta start chapter 13. Josephus' use of the book of Daniel. We got to keep going. We got to. Chapter 13. Okay. Chapter 13, Josephus' use of the book of Daniel. Thus far, I have shown the reader the parallels, allegories, and puzzles that lie within the New Testament and the works of Josephus to indicate that the Flavian family created Christianity. However, the reader can take another route to this understanding using only the literal meanings of the words in these works. As I have stated, the works of Josephus provided support for the religious doctrine of Christianity. Early Christian writers held that the parallels between Jesus' prophecies and Josephus' histories proved that Jesus could see into the future. Moreover, in addition to simply recording that Jesus' prophecies had come to pass, Josephus falsified the dates of the events that he describes in Wars of the Jews. He does this so that the sequence of events appear to prove that Daniel's prophecies came to pass within the 1st century CE, and that Jesus is the Son of God that Daniel envisioned. The following passage from St. Augustine exemplifies the early church fathers' belief that the 70 CE destruction of Jerusalem simultaneously fulfilled the prophecies of both Daniel and Jesus. Quote, Luke, to show that the abomination spoken of by Daniel will take place when Jerusalem is captured, recalls these words of the Lord in the same context. When you shall see Jerusalem compassed about with an army, then know that the desolation thereof is at hand. For Luke very clearly bears witness that the prophecy of Daniel was fulfilled when Jerusalem was overthrown. End quote. Reference 167. It is not well known today that Josephus falsified the dates of the events in the Wars of the Jews so that his work would be seen as the fulfillment of Daniel's prophecies. This is remarkable because he constantly reminds his readers that he is doing just that. Quote, and indeed, it so came to pass that our nation suffered these things under Antiochus Epiphanes according to Daniel's vision and what he wrote many years before they came to pass. In the very same manner, Daniel also wrote concerning the Roman government that our country should be made desolate by them. All these things did this man leave in writing as God had showed them to him. End quote. And that's reference 168. The passage above could not state the proposition any more clearly. Josephus is claiming that the events he describes in his works are part of the fulfillment of Daniel's prophecies. He shares this understanding of the events with Jesus, who also believed that Daniel's prophecies foresaw the 70 CE destruction of Jerusalem. Daniel's prophecies foresaw events that spanned 5 centuries. They predicted that toward the end of this time period, a Messiah, who would be a son of God, would appear and then be cut off. This cutting off of the Messiah is then followed by the destruction of Jerusalem. Therefore, to demonstrate that the war between Romans and the Jews is the one that Daniel envisioned, Josephus begins to align his history with Daniel's prophecies many years before the events of the 1st century CE. Josephus begins Wars of the Jews with a passage that describes Antiochus Epiphanes' assault on Jerusalem, which occurred approximately 200 years before the birth of Christ. Josephus clearly indicates that the assault was an event on Daniel's prophetic continuum, specifically the desolation Daniel predicts in Daniel chapter 7 verses 13 through Daniel chapter 8 through hold on, let me say that again. Specifically, the desolation Daniel predicts in Daniel 17. I'm sorry. Yeah, I keep messing this up. This passage. Okay. Specifically, the desolation Daniel predicts in Daniel chapter 7 and verse 13 all the way through Daniel chapter 8 and verse 14. He does this by using a phrase found only in the book of Daniel, the ending of the daily sacrifice, and by documenting the amount of time during which the daily sacrifice was halted, 3 years and 6 months. By using these phrases, Josephus is flatly stating that Daniel's prophecies are coming to pass. This position cannot be disputed because Josephus himself writes the passage that, This position cannot be disputed because Josephus himself writes the passage above that our nation suffered these things under Antiochus Epiphanes according to Daniel's vision. While the following passage may seem innocuous, it is in fact Josephus's proof that Daniel's prophetic continuum was occurring, and that therefore the 1st century CE would see both a Messiah who would be cut off and the destruction of Jerusalem. Notice Josephus's use of Daniel's phrase, 3 years and 6 months. Quote, at the same time that Antiochus, who was called Epiphanes, had a quarrel with the 6th Ptolemy about his right to the whole country of Syria, a great sedition fell among the men of power in Judea, and they had contention about obtaining the government, while each of those that were of dignity could not endure to be subject to their equals. However, Onias, one of the high priests, got the better and cast the sons of Tobias out of the city, who fled to Antiochus and besought him to make use of them for his leaders and to make an expedition into Judea. The king, being thereto disposed beforehand, complied with them and came upon the Jews with a great army and took them and came. I read the same sentence over. The king, being thereto disposed beforehand, complied with them, and came upon the Jews with a great army, and took their city by force, and slew a great multitude of those that favored Ptolemy, and sent out his soldiers to plunder them without mercy. He also spoiled the temple, and put a stop to their constant practice of offering a daily sacrifice of expiation for 3 years and 6 months. End quote. And that's reference 169. Remember, the references can be found in the back in the index. By beginning his work with this description, Josephus is, in effect, stating that all the events in Daniel's prophetic continuum will come to pass within the era that his histories cover. This is because once one links an event to a point on Daniel's continuum, there can be no stopping until all the prophecies in his continuum have been fulfilled. The cutting off of the Messiah that Daniel predicted is one of these events. Therefore, even though Jesus is not mentioned in Wars of the Jews, Josephus was aware that if the destruction of Jerusalem that Daniel prophesies comes to pass in 70 CE, the Messiah that Daniel predicted would have lived and been cut off earlier in the 1st century. Josephus is, in effect, providing support for the claim that Jesus existed and was the Messiah that Daniel prophesied with the very first sentence of his work. And after establishing the continuum of Daniel's prophecies with Antiochus Epiphanes' assault on Jerusalem, Josephus then records that the 70 CE destruction of Jerusalem brings Daniel's prophecies to a close. How does this? By documenting, once again, that the time sequence between the related events during the war matched the conclusion Daniel envisioned, and by using terms found only in the book of Daniel. The reader will notice that in none of the examples I present does Josephus try to portray certain events as occurring at precise dates. There was no system in the first century to precisely determine dates to which Daniel's prophecies could be aligned. In any case, Daniel's prophecies are so vague as to defy temporal specificity. The only certainties regarding them is that he uses the word week, W-E-E-K, to refer to a 7-year, not a 7-day period, and that his visions encompass a 490-year span. Josephus guides his readers to reach his intended conclusions by using words and phrases such as desolation and ending of the daily sacrifice, which he expects the reader to be familiar with from Daniel, and more concretely by simply stating that Daniel's prophecies were coming to pass. Moreover, Josephus also dates events within his history in precise time spans relative to one another, creating the impression that they were part of Daniel's prophecies. Josephus recorded that the related events were either 3.5 years, half a week, or 7 years, a week apart. The length of the war was 7 years, and the ending of the daily sacrifice was 3.5 years from its beginning. Bear in mind that Josephus was not merely inventing a religion, he was also inventing a time sequence within. Bear in mind that Josephus was not merely inventing a religion, he was also inventing a time sequence within which the religion is contained. None of the first century chronology by which we orient ourselves today existed until the authors of the works of Josephus created it. Because he was literally creating both history and time, Josephus was free to place events in relation to one another any way he chose. His recording of the perfect alignment of events in the time sequences Daniel predicted is either his witnessing of supernatural phenomena or a deliberate falsification. Currently, there is contention among scholars regarding virtually all of the chronology Josephus gives in Wars of the Jews, reference 170. For example, Josephus gives a later date than Suetonius, reference 171, and Dio when Vespasian began to prepare for the civil war in Rome that led to his becoming emperor. It is It is probable that Josephus did this to provide support for the Flavian claim that Vespasian was not anxious to become emperor. This shaping of time by Josephus to create Flavian propaganda is exactly the same technique he used to create the alignment between the Flavian campaign in Judea and the prophecies of Daniel. While it is not necessary that the reader be completely knowledgeable about Daniel's arcane prophecies and dating system to understand this analysis, some information is useful. Daniel envisioned a series of tribulations for the Jews during which various disasters would befall them. Inside this time period, he foresaw that a Messiah, whom he referred to as the Son of God, would be cut off. The period would last 490 years. The 7 times 70 weeks foreseen by Daniel. Several half weeks, 3.5-year periods would occur within specific weeks. Quote, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins and to make reconciliation for iniquity and to bring in everlasting righteousness and to seal up the vision and prophecy and to anoint the most holy. End quote. Reference 172. When Josephus aligns events of the first century with the prophecies of Daniel, he is creating a historical context that includes the Son of God, the Messiah. No other interpretation is possible. Quote, know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah Prince shall be 7 weeks and threescore and 2 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times. Reference 173. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood. And unto the end of the war, desolations are determined. End quote. And that's reference 174. So that's one passage, but he broke it up with 2 references. Okay. Daniel foresees a war that will last a week or 7 years. At the midpoint of this week, 3.5 years after its beginning, the daily sacrifice will cease, and the abomination of desolation, also foreseen by Jesus, will occur. Quote, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week, 3.5 years, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even unto the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. End quote. And that's reference 175. We at an hour. Let me see how much. I know we probably got some. Let me see where I want to cut this off at. Whew. Okay. I'm gonna read ahead, but we're gonna cut this off. We can cut this off. Let me just read. Let me see. Okay. Understanding this much, the reader should appreciate that the following passage from Wars of the Jews is, without question, meant to be understood as demonstrating the alignment between Daniel's prophecies and the history Josephus is describing. The failure of the daily sacrifice, 3.5 years from the beginning of the war, is too unique and precise a concept to permit any other interpretation. Further, this passage must be describing the abomination of desolation Jesus prophesied in the New Testament, a point I shall go into in depth. The passage is the most important in the works of Josephus for revealing the dating technique he was attempting to create. I have included the entire passage because it contains many points central to my theory. The passage begins with Titus bringing Josephus to the walls of Jerusalem to inform the Jewish rebels in their own language of Titus's concern over ending the daily sacrifice to God. The passage makes it completely clear that Josephus understands that Daniel's prophecies are being fulfilled. Note that Josephus is not reporting second or third-hand descriptions, what might merely suggest this. Mom, Josephus is quoting himself.
Let me end it first.
Yes. Let me read this.
Mommy, this hurts. My nose hurts. No, inside hurts.
Oh, okay. What is that on your? You got? I think that's ice cream. Oh, I was like, what is that? That's ice cream, dried ice cream. Okay. It was just stuck like right there. I thought thought it was like a whitehead on the top of your nose. It just, yeah. Okay. That's impossible for children to have. I mean, their bodies are not that toxic when they get, that's, I'm like, what is that? She pulled her ice cream out the freezer, and as she was eating, it must have popped her and looked like a little dot right there. And when I went to rub it, it didn't go away. I'm like, that's why I was, it's ice cream. Okay. Josephus is quoting himself, quote, "And now Titus gave orders to his soldiers that were with him to dig up the foundations of the tower of Antonia and make him a ready passage for his army to come up, while he himself had Josephus brought to him, for he had been informed that on that very day, which was the 17th day of Panemus or Tammuz, the sacrifice called the daily sacrifice had failed and had not been offered to God for want of men to offer it, and that people were grievously troubled at it, and commanded him to say the same things to John that he had said before, that if he had any malicious inclination for fighting, he might come out with as many of his men as he pleased in order to fight, without the danger of destroying either his city or temple, but that he desired he would not destroy the temple, nor thereby offend against God, that he might, if he pleased, offer sacrifices which were now discontinued of the Jews, whom he should pitch upon. Upon this, Josephus stood in such a place where he might be heard, not only by John, but by many more, and then declared to them what Caesar had given him in charge, and this in the Hebrew language. So he earnestly prayed them to spare their own city and to prevent that fire which was just ready to seize upon the temple, and to offer their usual sacrifices to God therein. And these words of his, a great sadness and silence were observed among the people. But the tyrant himself cast many reproaches upon Josephus, with imprecations besides, and at last added this withal, that he did never fear the taking of the city, because it was God's own city. In answer to which Josephus said thus with a loud voice, "To be sure thou hast kept this city wonderfully pure for God's sake. The temple also continues entirely unpolluted. Nor hast thou been guilty of all impiety against him whose assistance thou hopest. He still receives his accustomed sacrifices. Thou wretch thou art, if anyone should deprive thee of thy daily food, thou wouldest esteem him to be an enemy to thee. But thou hopest to have that God for thy supporter in this war, whom thou hast deprived of his everlasting worship. And thou imputest the sins to the Romans, who to this very time take care to have our laws observed, and almost compel these sacrifices to be still offered to God, which have by thy means have been intermitted. Who is there that can avoid groans and lamentations at the amazing change that is made in this city, since very foreigners and enemies do now correct the impiety which thou hast occasioned, while thou, who art a Jew, and wast educated in our laws, art become a greater enemy to them than the others." End quote. And that's reference 176. Josephus is attempting at this point in the passage to twist Judaism against itself. He tries to convince John, the rebel leader, in a manner reminiscent of Jesus, of the wisdom of repentance. To do this, he points out that Jeconiah, the former king of the Jews, surrendered to the Babylonians rather than risk having the temple destroyed, an act for which Jews will forever revere him. Notice also that Josephus is speaking directly to John, the rebel leader, who was the basis for the New Testament character, the Apostle John. Josephus, in effect, is using the Jews' own religious convictions to bring them to surrender, or, as Jesus would say, turn the other cheek. And we're going to pause right here. Y'all, I freaking love this. Let tell you, I love the truth and uncovering lies and setting people free from tyranny of governments and religion so you can live life here on the earth and just be as Yahuwah intended us to be while we're here, and learn about this earth and who we are and what we are, and prepare ourselves as we transition into the next phase of life, right? All right, so this is just amazing. I forgot to put my page number when I'm running my mouth. 317. All right, so I hope y'all enjoyed the reading as much as I did today, right? Y'all may have to go back. There's some things, if I was reading kind of fast, you might need to just go back and listen to it again. And I would say, I ain't telling you, you got to go buy this. I don't get paid from telling you about it. I ain't got no kind of affiliate links or nothing. I give you the same link I bought my copy from. This is a really good investment as you're waking up to the truth, simply because all the references and everything that he has, where you can go double check into some things. This and a little pamphlet that we read, the true authorship of the New Testament, that we read. It took us like a day. No, I think we took 2 days to read that little small pamphlet. Those are two really good investments to make. The pamphlet is free. It's downloadable, right? I put the links in the description box on Facebook and YouTube, and then I pin some stuff I'll pin in the comment section, but all the references and everything, what we're reading from, it's always in the description box on YouTube, right? So even if you're just starting, you don't know what to go to. Like now that I've come across this, I would recommend this first. Like those two things, I would recommend them first to anybody that's just waking up to the truth and what's going on. Why? Because they give you other references where you can go. Like there's almost no end of the references that Caesar's Messiah has, where it gives you other manuscripts and things where you can go pull and look into and pull the pieces together. I think he does a really, really good job of bringing all this information together. And this has been over a 20-year process for him. I was actually looking up, I was considering reading the next portion that he had, but I don't think he finished it. I was like, ooh, that would be a good book to follow up with. But I haven't found it. I seen it and I forget the name of it. I got it marked in my notes. I'm gonna pull it up. I had considered reading that next, but I can't find it, so from what it looks like, it doesn't look like he finished writing it yet. I think he's still in the midst of writing it and completing it, but I'm not sure. So I'm gonna still look into it. If I can find it, that's gonna be our next book. But if I can't find it, I got to see what else, what other reference, just to kind of, and the references that I want to read while we're reading the Torah daily or reading through the Old Testament. I want it to be things that are true and that help wake us up from the strong delusion, right? Because sometimes it can be a lot and it's like, oh, just put it all away. I'm going to go back to sleep. Sometimes we feel like, what? I don't even want to remember we had this conversation. Just put me back into the matrix. This is too much. And sometimes it can become overwhelming, especially depending on how deep you were lodged into the strong delusion, into Christianity. Guys, it's a heartbreaker. It's devastating to some people. Some people just don't want to hear it. But, all you got to do is start pulling on that sweater string, that little piece that's unraveled. Just start pulling on it a little bit. Just keep on pulling on it. Right, and that sweater will begin to unravel, and you will see the bare naked truth once you unravel that entire sweater. Voila. Right? So, we're working on that. All right, y'all. So, I hope y'all enjoyed the reading today. We read Job 25, 26, and 27. We read Caesar's Messiah. We read all of chapter 12, and we started in chapter 13. We started on page 303 in chapter 12, and we ended on page 317 in chapter 13. It is Sunday, October the 10th, 2021, day 275 of year 3 of reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets. Another 3-year consecutive day count, day 944. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and do the blessing. Bella! The blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember, the first 21 verses is the Nazarite vow. Josh, call Bella for me. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, Yahuwah will kneel before us, presenting gifts, and will guard us with a hedge of protection. Yahuwah will illuminate the wholeness of his being towards us, bringing order, and he will provide us with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yahuwah will lift up his wholeness of being and look upon us, and he will set in place all we need to be whole and complete. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. Be blessed, my son. Come here, Tootie, baby. Be blessed, my daughter. Boy, move. Don't do that. No. See. All right, y'all. Obedience to Yah. Shalom, shalom.
Mom, you kick my leg.
Y'all get it together. All right, y'all. Thank you. This is my Sudoku cube. Leave it alone.
It's like a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know what it is. I'm working on solving this puzzle.
Here you go, Mom.
Okay.
Mom, when can we do it?
Yes.
Video?
Let's love the truth.
I want on this one first.
Christy. Hold on. Wait. Okay. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all back here tomorrow morning.
Saturday.
No, tomorrow's Monday to the baby. Bright and early, 7:15, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Oh, you know what I told y'all? Hold on. Wednesday. Okay. So it's possible it might be 2 days, y'all, where we won't be live, right? So Wednesday. Hey, chill.
Shut it!
Hey, yes, please shut that while I'm up here. Isaiah, stop it. Okay, so Wednesday, we're going to be traveling. We're going to be traveling early in the morning. And I'm going to have to, like I said, I'm going to pre-record the video or I was thinking about it, yes. Okay.
My tooth moving.
Your tooth moving? Or I had considered going live later that evening once we get checked into our hotel and everything. But I know it's gonna be kind of rowdy, so it's gonna have to be a little bit later in the evening, just so we can be live, right? That way I don't have to pre-record it. I'm considering that, so we'll still have a live that day. It's just gonna be later.
Hey boys,
You're gonna
there's
have to,
a fly.
watch for the notification, because I can't really necessarily give you a time unless I say for sure it's gonna be 9 p.m. right? Because I know, hey, chill. That is Dad's. Close it. You know it's not yours, like y'all ate y'all's yesterday. Yeah. Leave the man's ice cream alone.
Mine's still in there.
Okay, so I considered going live, but it's gonna have, like I said, it's gonna be later because all the kids gonna be with us, and I know we're gonna eat, how to get them settled back down, get them in their baths, and get them in the bed. So, I considered going live at 9, possibly 10, maybe. You know, still thinking about it. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Leave like a comment under the video or whatever, and I'll see. But then again, I'm sitting here doing all this talking, and my husband be like, girl, you know what, let me just not. I'm not. We're going to do this.
Guess what?
We're going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and pre-record it. But I was trying to prevent being gone 2 days in a row. Because remember, the Sabbath is Thursday now, and I just realized that yesterday. That's why I started considering maybe we should, wait a minute, Tootie. Maybe we should go live later. So, but now that I actually talked it out in the air, I might just go ahead and just pre-record early on Wednesday, because I don't think none of y'all will be here if I decided to go live about 3 in the morning.
I got an ice cube.
We could do it live, but it'd be 3 in the morning.
Mom.
And I probably won't have anybody live except for those who are in other countries or who are in different time zones or who are just late hours and up all hours of the night. What, girl? Okay, let me go ahead. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow. We're going to figure this thing out. All right, go ahead, edit. Bye, y'all. Love y'all. See y'all in the morning, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here. And Facebook. I'm going to show you how to do the laptop. Girl. No. Girl. No, stop. You can't do that. This is just a little bit different. Okay, hit finish. Bye, Facebook.